Welcome into another Rivermen alumni interview. And before we get started with our very special guest, we want to let you know this conversation is presented by Ameren, Illinois. Get reliable energy for your home every day. Visit amerenillinois.com to learn more. All right, we're talking with ECHL center Tyler Rennette. He was with the Rivermen for parts of 5 seasons, the last 5 seasons that the team played in the ECHL. And Tyler, it has been a while, but first off, how are you doing in what is a crazy world that is hopefully very, very close to coming back to normal?
I'm doing fine. I am. It's been a long year. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody would agree with it, but I think it's like our household is pretty normal right now. We get out and we do stuff with the kids, and the kids have been in school ever since. They haven't had to do any remote, which is nice. So it's been as normal as possible. Let's put it that way.
Well, we're going to talk about all the accolades and your time in the ECHL, but to kind of stay on the present then, I guess, obviously one thing that was out of your norm is this year you're not coaching hockey, or at least at the level that you were with the NAHL Springfield Junior Blues and the Tier 2 junior ranks. They suspended operations due to the pandemic, but it sounds like you guys are expecting to be good to go this fall, right?
We are. Yeah, we're good. We signed the paperwork. We've been recruiting players all of the last year, which has been a different process for me. Usually we don't have time to get out on the road and to watch all these showcases or watch AAA teams or even junior teams. So I've had a lot of time to do that. So now if it doesn't go as planned, then I can't really point any fingers, right? Because they're all my guys that are coming in. So it's been fun. It's been fun, but we're looking to get back on the ice at the Nelson Center, no question.
It's funny when you think about it too. I wasn't even ready to ask this, but it's just sort of coming to my mind now. You know, you look back at your junior career with Erie in the 90s. Imagine if a pandemic hit then, where the advent of social media was just not as prevalent as it is now in 2020 and 2021. I mean, how different are things? And you almost wonder, like, how different would things have been, because you would not have been able to have as much access as you do now in recruiting players through constant email, or possibly being able to see videos of players on YouTube. I mean, it's quite a different world.
No, it is. And there's so many different video softwares out there now too, that kids are always uploading videos. And I'm not a video guy as far as highlights go. A lot of kids will send you highlight reels, but they don't show the other stuff. And it's tough to get a gauge on, but for the most part, like I couldn't imagine. Like now, when the season starts, I have to stand in front of the group and give a social media speech on what you can and can't do, right? Where back when I played, we didn't even have cell phones in junior. So it's a different world, it is. But the kids are pretty good with it. You hear a couple kids getting in trouble with what they're saying on there, but it's, for the most part, they know now and they understand, and it's, yeah, I don't allow phones in the locker room, so they've come to grip that pretty good, but it can get you in trouble. There's no question. But yeah, as far as the video and scouting stuff goes, it's a big help when it comes to a pandemic for sure.
I don't know, and this will be my last one, and then we'll jump to the past here. But I'm not sure how much you keep in touch with Jean-Guy Trudel, who's the Rivermen head coach. It's funny, though, because I've talked to him, and at the SPHL, the kids are a little more mature than where they are in the junior ranks, but they're still getting a lot of kids that are sub-25, early 20s. And I remember him saying it's hard because with a lot of them, you have the learning curve of just attention span, because they're so used to being in their phones all day. Do you ever notice that? I know you make it sound like you sort of at times maybe have to police it in the locker room, but I mean, is that a real combative battle with the younger generation now for hockey players?
It is. Well, it is. It is with my kids too. Like we just had a discussion with my middle boy today. Like he'll get up in the morning and we're just going to sit on the couch and watch TikTok or whatever else is he's watching on his phone, but he's not getting ready for school, right? And then it's a mad dash to get out of here at the last minute when he's been up for 25 minutes. So no, it is. They're taking over the world. There's no question. Like, it doesn't matter where you're at. You could be at a mall, it could be at a restaurant, and somebody's always got their face in the phone. Where Me, I wouldn't mind losing my phone for a week or two, and it wouldn't bother me at all. But some people just, it's taking over the world, and people can't live without them.
Yeah. Well, pros and cons, obviously. I mean, I guess without technology, we're not doing this interview, but
No.
so, Tyler, as we talked to the very top of this, your career with the Rivermen was a decorated one. You finished second all time in the team's goal category among ECHL players. But even to this day, which has been 16 years since your last season there, you're still sixth all time in goals across the franchise's 40-year history. And speaking of that, I mean, that's one of the reasons we're doing this interview too. We're going around talking to alumni, celebrating 40 years of Peoria hockey. Is it crazy to believe it's been that long, either since you last skated on Carver Arena ice, or just knowing that franchise you've played for has been around since 1982?
You know what? It's a special place. It really is, especially when it comes to the minor leagues. I was in Worcester for about a year and a half, and then I got hurt that second year a few times. So they decided, let's go down to Peoria and on a conditioning stint, which I haven't left yet.
A lot of conditioning.
Yeah, but it's a special place that you fall in love with it. You fall in love with the fans. You fall in love with the people, the sponsors. Everybody treats you. Like I said, they treated us like we were an NHL team here. I've never seen the support. But like I said, I was in Worcester the year and a half before, and they treat you well. But this is a special place to play hockey, and I was. I had offers to try with different American League teams, and I didn't really want to get out of here. It was to the point where I knew I wasn't going to play in the NHL, and why go try something else when you have something special here? So I loved every minute of playing on Carver Arena. The first game I played to the last game I played. I have no complaints whatsoever.
We'll talk about the last game in a little bit, that iconic moment at the very end. But, Dan Hodge has a very similar story, and I bring that up because on Rivermen Day a couple months back, he talked about how when he got drafted, he then went to Providence in the American League, battled some injuries, and ended up having to go down to Peoria longer than he expected to be there. But he had a conversation with the head coach at the time, and it was a conversation where he said basically to Dan that you can either complain and be upset about being here because kind of in your situation with Worcester, Peoria, you're going down, right? You're taking a demotion, if you will, and you can complain and mope around about that, or you can make the best of the situation. And he ended up obviously winning a Kelly Cup, being a Hall of Famer in that city, much like you are. Do you think you battled similar things though, right off the bat, about going down there? It's a conditioning stint, but you'd rather do that conditioning at the next level?
Yeah, it's tough. It was, but like I said, when I first got here, it was when you're battling injuries and you're battling it's nonstop. Like you come back, you play, you get another injury. You don't feel comfortable. Where when I got to Peoria and I was 100% and I was ready to play, I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable with the coach. I felt comfortable with my teammates. Obviously, the city and the fans made me feel right at home right away. So it is tough, and I can see where it could be really tough depending on where you land. But like I said, this place was special, and after a week or two and you get to know everybody and you get rolling, it feels like you've been here your whole career.
As I said, we'll talk about your whole career from 2000 to 2005. But if you look back at that first year where you played a handful of games with the team, you get to Peoria for the first time. Just that year alone, who are a couple of the names that come to mind as guys that maybe made that a fun place for you right off the bat?
Well, we had a real Well, let's go down the list. We had Hodge, we had Blaine Fitzpatrick, Trevor Baker, Darren Clark, Brett Myers. I mean, you could go on and on and on, and and we had that group for a few years. Like that's what makes this place special. Like everybody wanted to come back, and everybody came back because the way they were treated in town. And we had a good team, and we expected to win. But when you're having fun, you like I said, I always tell my guys, like if you're having fun, you're going to win regardless. And I think it was the group that we had in here that it was you can't say enough about it, especially those first 2 years. I mean, coming off the Kelly Cup, And then we went to the conference finals and got beat on a lucky goal with a few seconds left. Like, we felt that we could win. And I knew nothing about the league, but the guys in the room that have won the Kelly Cup the following year, like, they were confident that we were going to win. And like I said, it's the way hockey goes. You get a bad bounce once in a while, but I loved it here. I loved the guys.
Well, you got to love it too for the off-ice stuff. Who did you end up living with? Any fun stories there?
I actually lived my first year when I came down. I actually lived with Arvid Rikas. Okay. And we go way back. We actually played together in Erie for 2 years. So when I kind of showed up here, it was, we're going to put you with Reeks, and we knew each other. So it was a blast, and he was a character. No question. He was a character, and we had some fun, but I mean, we all lived in the same complex, so it was like you had 20 roommates, right? You could go and hang out with anybody at any time. And we were, for the most part, we were fairly young. Not like hardly anybody had kids or wives. And I know Hodge had a nice house down on Bradley campus with his wife at the time. So that was, that seemed to be the hangout place down there.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at things, because I know with talking to him and even going beyond his days, you know, Dave Tomlinson back in the IHL era, won a Turner Cup, just the vibe that was Central Illinois and Peoria. I mean, and I don't know if it was just the team being good. It's probably a domino effect, because when the team's good, the crowds are usually good. The support of the sponsors is usually good. I mean, it sounded like, and you being there for that ECHL era coming right after the Kelly Cup, it was like a party down on Southwest Jefferson every night.
It was awesome. Like I said, we didn't even get out of the rink really after games. Like, we go to the club room, which is, I think is now the Bradley locker room. So the club room used to be downstairs. So we'd walk over there after games to have a beer or two, and the place is packed. So you would never get out of there. Like, you were so, like, just mingling with fans. Like you said, we didn't have time to go to a different bar. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. And like I said, the people, they treated you like gold. And it was like, you go in there after games, you're not buying a drink, and the people would get your, like, we were comfortable with the fans. Like, I can't, even my junior days, I didn't go out for dinner with fans more than I did here. And they all wanted to take you out. And then when I got married, they wanted to take my wife out with us. It is a special place when it comes to minor league hockey. And I don't care if it's the American League, the East Coast, SPHL, you still have that group of fans that treat everybody like gold. And it's gone a long ways, and that's why it's successful.
Well, and you were obviously part of that success, as we mentioned earlier, 2012 Hall of Fame inductee, but a lot of guys will credit it to the teammates you play with. So we talked about those guys from that first year, but over the whole scope, I mean, 130 goals in 5 seasons. It's really not even 5 whole seasons. I mean, the one, I think you played 7 or 8 regular season games in. What was attributed to that success? Is it Jason Christie as a head coach? Is it playing with guys like Trevor Baker? I mean, what all elements make that career as special as it was?
I think it was everything, really. Obviously, I did. Like, Jason had a lot of faith or confidence in me. And listen, I learned how to play a game that I never knew how to play before I came to him, right? Like, I was always an offensive guy and didn't really work without the puck, where, okay, maybe he had to sit me on the bench a couple games till I realized it. And I realized it. Like, nowadays, a lot of kids don't. I kind of took it like, okay, well, if I want to play here, then I'm going to have to pick it up. Doesn't matter where I came from, right? So he had a lot to do with it. Obviously, the guys I played with had a ton to do with it. I mean, those big years, I mean, we had Randy Rowe, Darren Clark. I was on a line with Clarkie and Brooksy for my the 42 goal year, and those little buzzsaws. They, like I said, you never want to take credit for your own success, and I cannot with those two. I just found myself bringing up the rear because they were so fast, and they went in and got the puck and gave it to me. And like I said, you click with certain guys, and we clicked. And then the next year, playing with Rosie and Bakes too, and Clarkie, it was fun. Hockey was fun here. You know, when you're up somewhere else, I was in Worcester, I wasn't having fun because I wasn't playing a lot. I was always hurt, where this kind of rejuvenated my career. And you know, I can't say enough about the people I played with and the coaching staff and ownership group for that matter.
Yeah. What about Bruce Sowers? You know anything about him or had any interaction with him? Because I was told just from all the guys, and unfortunately, by the time I got to Peoria, you know, Mr. Sowers had passed away, but so many people said that he was unlike owners from any of the other organizations they were at. And like you, they were, you know, in a spot where they had been to other teams, they had been to other levels. But they said, you know, you had a guy that came downstairs every day and shook your hand, win or lose, you know, either, hey, good job tonight, or we'll get him next time. I mean, what was it like playing for a guy like that?
It was awesome. Him and Ann both, and even Tim, Bruce's son, was great. Yeah, you'd walk in for practice, and there's Bruce having a coffee with Smurf in his office, right? Like he truly cared for every one of us. Like there's no, like he was an owner, yeah, but he was always around. And he was a local owner, which made it even better. Ann was a local owner. They treated us like gold. Like Christmas time, or even if we got an off weekend, we take the bus to Ann's farm, or there was nothing short of excellence when it came to those people. And listen, when I stuck around in the summertime after a couple years, and I worked washing cars at Bruce and Tim's lots, right? So now I can't say enough. He was top notch, and I mean, you could talk to anyone in Peoria, even outside of hockey, and they don't have a bad word to say about Bruce Sowers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, it's cool too, because what you were talking about as well, sort of in the greater meaning of things, not that this is for players as much as it's more sort of a fan service video here, but
yeah.
You know, for a player listening, you're talking so much about the quality of life and why you didn't leave Peoria because you knew what you had there. You're still seeing that with SPHL players. I mean, Alec Kageman, who's, you know, coming off a President's Cup win down in Pensacola, you know, he would not have been in Pensacola had it not been for the canceled season in Peoria. But if you look at Hageman's numbers, you know, for any fan, this is a guy who could easily go in the ECHL and play anywhere in the ECHL, and he chooses not to. He turns down call-ups left and right to the point where I don't think teams call anymore because they know what the answer is, and that is because of the happiness. He's obviously a hometown guy too, which helps, but he recognizes the appreciation there is in Peoria and being a proud part of the Rivermen, and it sounds like you and a lot of guys did the same thing back in the early 2000s.
Oh, we did. And you look, even before my time, there's still a lot of guys here, right? Like he's here, Kevin Loon's here. Like there's tons of us that are still around, and you're going to see more. I think Gertler's still around. So it speaks volumes for the city and in the organization. Like I said, Hags grew up here, and when I was playing with the Rivermen when I first got to town, we'd skate with the Mustangs in the summer times just to kind of get in shape, and Hags was around then, right? So now he's coming. Now he's in. We all know his ability to play the game, but I think his leadership qualities are second to none. And if you want to find a kid that cares more about the community than him, you're going to have a hard time finding one. And he loves it here. And I was fortunate enough to talk to him here a little bit throughout the year. We were down in Florida, and I thought it was a lot closer to where we were, but it wasn't. And I know we had some hard times with injuries this year, but you know what? I'm glad he had the opportunity to win. Listen, everybody wants to win. I wanted nothing more to win here.
Yeah.
But when they switched to the higher level, I had to go find somewhere else to play, and I ended up winning a championship that following year too. And it's a year champion. It doesn't matter where you play, but I know Hags is going to be chomping at the bit to lift that cup over his head again next year in a Rivermen jersey. And I hope they do.
Yeah. You've got make that two people with you and me here both. You know, you kind of segue into it. Let's talk about this key moment that I'm sure you've been asked about a number of times, probably from David Minian, good old Cleve, and I'm sure he is going to watch this too. But you know, April 9th, 2005, it's the last home game in the ECHL era of the Rivermen. And Tyler, I'll ask you to go a little more in depth about this. I'll probably be part of a multi-part question here, but you guys get the win in the shootout. I think it was against Dayton, and the game's over. It's over 7,000 fans. This is the end of an era because the team is transitioning into the AHL next season, and you go to center ice, take your jersey off, lay it there. You have guys that follow and do the same. That is such an iconic moment. And even to this day, over 16 years later, it almost is, it's the end of an era. And as you know, I mean, you obviously just talking about Hags, you know your Rivermen history even beyond your years there. You know, times have changed, crowds have changed. The AHL was not the successful product that the ECHL was there. You know, it almost feels like that was the last day of as a lot of fans do refer to it. If you go to Carver Arena, they will say, those ECHL days, those were the glory days. It kind of was. It was like the end of an era, not just of the ECHL era, but the end of probably one of the most dominant peaks in Rivermen history, and the end of probably the most popular era in Rivermen history. So what was it like being on the ice for that moment?
It was special. It really was. And like the game was up and down, and we go into a shootout. And I'm getting teary-eyed here thinking about it, but just bear with me here.
No, hey, it's obviously you're a heart and soul player.
Like, I can remember that game like it was yesterday. I think I just felt like I owed it to the people here. And for them to know that wherever I played, it wasn't going to be the same. And it was just spur of the moment. I just took it off and laid it there, and Bakes and Rosie followed suit. So, and those guys were here like the whole time with me. So it was special. It was special. I still think of that game all the time. It's tough not to. Like I said, it was a special place to play, and I think we just felt like we owed it to them. And when Bake scored that goal, I've never heard that place so loud. And now I didn't think he'd be the one to score the last goal like that in a shootout, but it was fun. It was good. It was quite the game. And it was special. I wish social media was around a little more, just because we didn't really have any pictures from it.
Yeah.
Or videos. So I think if it happened now, there'd be a lot more memories. Now it's just kind of in our minds, and it was awesome. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, it's funny how we kind of started today talking about the evil of social media and how it's ruining fans. And at the same time, you wish there was a tweet out there of those last 30
seconds. We do. We do. I think there was one picture kind of taken from up top with the jerseys laying on the ice, but I mean, the quality of the photos back then wasn't very great. So no, I have nothing, no pictures, anything from it. It's just a memory. And I think like Rosie and Bakes will tell you the exact same thing. And like you said, if you were a fan in the stands, it was a special moment. It was. Now I know the American League it was a big deal when you get the American League in town, right? And I don't think they didn't interact with the fans like the East Coast League did. And I think that was it left a sour taste in people's mouths, but I think it's close to getting back. I've been to I take my kids down to games whenever I get a free Sunday or whenever. And I think the Gee and Hags for that matter, and Skroba, like Gertz, all those guys that were here for the start of the SPHL, they've done a great job with interacting with the fans, and you can see it's starting to come back a little bit.
Oh, so you went to the United Hockey League after that. You know, your career didn't end in 2005, but I'm curious, as we're sort of pulling the curtain back on that moment, when did you know that the Rivermen were going to the AHL?
They had told us during the year. I don't remember exactly when, but it was kind of spur of the moment. I think Bruce actually came in and talked to us all and just kind of explained the situation, and you could hear a pin drop in the locker room.
During was this like the day of I don't know if you'd remember.
I think it was like a practice day. He just kind of came in, had a meeting, and explained the situation, and it's what it is, right? You can't blame them for wanting to go up a higher level, but yeah, it was tough. And I sat in the locker room in between Baker and Rosie, and it was like us three took it pretty hard, right? It was kind of one of those things where we were comfortable here. We knew we weren't going to go play at a higher level. So like we still joke now, like we'd like to think we're still playing if the team was still the East Coast League, right? But so that we knew going in there that was it. That last game was it regardless. So we kind of took a couple guys. A lot of guys wanted to enjoy that last game here, especially guys that have been around for a while. So we played hard, and like I said, it ended in a shootout, and what a better way to cap it off than with Bake scoring a shootout goal. And then the events that happened after that, they definitely weren't planned. It was kind of a spur of the moment deal.
That's an awesome
Respects to the city.
Yeah, I mean, it goes down as, I think, at least, and this is a biased opinion, I think it's one of the best moments outside of the championships that this city has won. There is something about that photo, and you're right. There is a view. No, it's not, the picture, but you can see the numbers and the names on those 3 jerseys laying at dead center ice from all the way in the catwalk. So
yeah.
There is something about that. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, that one's one of them. I guess I didn't ask you time of year though. So it was that last season you found out. Do you have any memory? Like, was it early in the season, midway, later in?
I think it was later in. I mean, obviously there was a lot of rumors flying around, and it like nobody thought anything of it, right? Like we kind of like to tone out the outside, but I think when Bruce came in, it was near the end of the year. It was near the end. And he told us, and it was like, and I think it was like everybody felt that, right? Like Smurf, all the players, front office workers. So I don't know. We just we decided we wanted to finish the year hard and play as hard as we could for the fans. And like I said, I think we fell a little short, but I think that last game was special to a lot of people.
Yeah. What I'm just curious. I don't know if you know. Did somebody eventually just pick up the jersey and give it back to you? I mean, what happened there? Not to ruin the moment, but I mean, the Zamboni didn't run it over. So
no, I think Jimmy was he was kind of the stick boy at the time. Jimmy Vlasis, I think he was the one that kind of ran out to get him. I don't think he waited too long. I think they got the quick photo, and then he kind of ran out and gathered him up and brought him back in the locker room. So it was special. It was. And then when we got into the locker room, all the other guys were standing around clapping for us. So it was fun.
I know you won a championship after that in the UHL. Where would that game that you won a championship? I mean, would that have been your favorite game? I don't know if it's fair to ask somebody if they have a favorite game. There's so many, or maybe not favorite game. I don't know, favorite moment. I mean, just seeing obviously your nonverbal reaction to that last game. I would assume that sits up there. I don't know if that's number one or if it's winning championship later or something in between. You were good in Erie too, so maybe back in the Ontario League. Where does that moment place?
No, I think it's top. I would put it above the championship game. I would. Like I said, we were here for a long time, us three, and it was a special place to play. And I was fortunate enough to go to Kalamazoo, which is a pretty storied franchise too, in many different leagues. And I got to play with a lot of close friends, and we had a hell of a team. We did, and it was fun there too. But like I said, Peoria is my home now, and I would put that game at the top of any list, and I would put it up above my first preseason game in the NHL against Mike Modano, right? Like it was a special place. It was a special era, and I can't thank the people of Peoria enough for the time that I got to play here.
Well, your career in Peoria sort of ended there, and then you sort of had one last moment with the 2012 Hall of Fame induction. Do you remember who gave you the call? And I hope I don't get you choked up again, but feel free to express it. What do you remember? Who gave you the call, and maybe some of your initial thoughts to that?
I believe it was Cleve. Reached out to me and told me what was going on. So it was special, and I'm glad I got the call from him because he's been around for so long, and we had some some great times. We had some tough times together, and he back then he traveled on some of the bus trips when the playoffs. So he was like one of the team. Like he was for a guy to cover a minor league hockey team like he did. He had just as much passion as the players. And as soon as I got to town, he was right there to cover my story, where I came from. And yeah, so it was neat getting the call from him. I think I missed the call, but I had to call him back. And when he explained what was going on, it was special. It hit home for sure.
And were you able to be there? I know a couple guys ended up getting their plaque sent in the mail. You were there for it, right?
I was, yeah. I always considered this my home. So we've been my family's been in this house for 12 years. So I think we've kind of just first moved in once all that stuff took place. So it was nice. My parents, my brother, they came down. I know Guy was there. It was some of the older guys that had played before. So it was nice. It's always nice to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. And it was extra special for me just on the way that I love playing in front of these fans. So it couldn't have capped off a better time playing in Peoria than that.
We'll only ask you a couple more here before we wrap up, Tyler. But I do want to ask you about that night at the induction ceremony, because, we're allowed to talk about it and kind of open that fourth wall back. As you mentioned, I would agree with you. I think when Bruce delivered the news of the transition to the AHL, it makes sense. If you can make a bigger jump, why not take it? But it just didn't work out the way they wanted it to. And 2013 was the final season. You got inducted a year before, but I think even at that point, there may have been some writing on the wall. Did you ever get that notion? I'm not sure how much you stayed in tune with the team during their AHL tenure, but certainly at that point, we talked about, I think I had the number here, was 7,255 fans on your final ECHL game. And I'm going to guess it probably wasn't that. At the Hall of Fame induction, and the crowds were not what they used to be. So was there a sense of a different feel? I know Guy has said that there was when he came back.
No, there is. And when you move to the higher level, I think obviously comes higher ticket prices. And there's just so much. And listen, I don't know if the fans just loved the East Coast League as much as they did. And I think it was fan interaction. I know when the American League first came, because I actually worked in the Rivermen office for a little bit when I was done playing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was there, and they didn't mingle with the fans as much as the East Coast League guys did, and for whatever reason, right? And like I said, I wasn't on the team, so I don't know if they were told not to or don't go to the club room. I don't know. That's what it is. But I think that hurt. I think that is a big thing here. Like, these fans, they spend so much time, so much of their own money to come and watch you play. The least you can do is just go spend some time with them after a game, whether you want to have a beer or you want to have a Diet Pepsi, it doesn't matter. They're going to stand there and they're going to talk to you, and they're going to listen. And listen, I've met a lot of great people just from going over to the club room after, right? So, I mean, even it set me up for after hockey when I started working in the real world. Like, they're all people that I met when I was playing here. So I don't know. I have zero complaints, and I think that has a lot to do with it, right? Just the fan interaction. And the American League, I don't think they really did it.
Yeah. And obviously, thankfully, the SPHL came in, and that fan interaction is back. I mean, the amount of community initiatives this team has spearheaded has been tremendous over the years. What about, as we kind of come full circle, we get back to the beginning here before we wrap it up, being with the Springfield Junior Blues, and obviously for you, you get to stay in the Peoria area or near the Peoria area. How did that opportunity come up to be a head coach at the NAHL level?
Well, I'll tell you how it all started. I was working with Brewers Distributing as an account manager, and I got a call I touched base with Guy, and the Mustangs were looking for a coach. So he wanted me to do it. I was going back and forth with them. I've been out of the game for so long because I think I was out of the game. That was 7 years after I retired, and I started working and kind of just welcomed that part of my life. And then I had lunch with Guy, and he talked me into it. So I did it the first year while I was working, which was crazy because that's a lot of work to do. I mean, I don't care what level you're coaching at. If you want to be a successful coach, you got to put the time in, right? And so the following year I did it without my job at Brewers, and then went to Springfield the following year as an assistant, and then their coach left and I got the head job. So that's kind of how it came about. I give all the credit to Jean-Guy on that one. There
you go. All works out for you. All right, last question. We've asked a lot of guys this. So we're celebrating the 40-year anniversary, and these videos have almost become a petition for Bart Rogers to get an alumni game together to celebrate the anniversary of this historic franchise. And Cleve sort of started putting the bug in guys' ears, and everybody's been saying yes. I haven't gotten to know yet. It's okay. You mentioned you're a little older, but if there was an alumni game opportunity at Carver Arena, would you do it?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely I would. I don't think you're going to find too many guys that say no. Listen, a lot of guys might not play, but I bet you they find their way back to Peoria because it'd be one heck of a time. And no, I definitely play. I would. It's like I said, it was a special place, and if you can get a lot of these guys to come back for this alumni game, it'd be a pretty darn good alumni game.
I think you'd get a lot of fans coming back for the alumni game too. I mean, you're talking about 40 eras. You know, you could be centering up against Dave Tomlinson. I mean, you know,
yeah.
Just those cool, like sort of iconic moments that you really can't make up. So
no, you can't. And I know they did when the tornado came through Washington years ago, they did a Blues Blackhawks alumni, and they kind of split the Rivermen guys that were in town up on teams. And I mean, that game was packed, right? It was for a great cause. Don't get me wrong, but listen, I think this could have potential to be one of the biggest alumni in minor pro hockey, with all the guys that have come through here and the way that everybody loves this city. So no, if Bart does it, I'll definitely take part in it for sure.
Bart, we know you're listening and watching, so there's got another vote of confidence. Tyler, it's been awesome. 40 years of Rivermen history, and you played such a huge part of it during the climax of the ECHL era, and obviously since then, you're still a part of the community, still part of the junior footprint, and I'm sure we'll have you back at a game, maybe in skates and a jersey too, we hope. So
yeah, no, it could happen.
Yeah, well, we're hoping for it. So, all right, Tyler Rennette, center for the Rivermen for 5 years, 2012 Hall of Fame inductee. Thanks so much for your time today, man.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it.